Hi, welcome to Grow with Angie. I'm Angie and I'm coming to you from my backyard with an update on the worm factory. It is extremely hot and humid out here today, but this needed to be done. Stick around and I'll show you how well the worms are doing. All right, so I'm not honestly sure what I'm going to do here today. I do know that I need to add another tray and start moving the worms up. I have 2 trays already and my worms are getting very small and they just need more space. They only grow to the size of the environment that they need, and because they're not really super big and fat right now, they need more space. We're gonna talk a little bit about the food that I've been feeding them, using your leftover toilet paper rolls and giving more food to the worms. So without further ado, let's open her up. I have been using brown paper bags on the top to seal it closed, but I do find that the newspaper seems to work much better. I also give them big leaves of the cabbage heads and they basically hide under it. They do start to chew through it, but it takes them a little bit longer. What I've really been doing is taking our food scraps and putting them into the food processor, grinding it up, and then adding a whole bunch of the paper towel rolls to the inside of the bag. This is getting the paper towel rolls nice and soft and easy for them to eat that cardboard or that paper source a little bit quicker than just using the paper bags. Now, if I lift this layer off, I'm actually going to put it on this one for right now because I know I'm gonna have a lot of worms hanging out the bottom and we wanna kind of keep them contained. Then this level has quite a few worms, but right now I need to clean underneath to the very bottom, and this is super heavy. When the water runs through here and it fills up my base tray, you can see all the water in here, and I empty this out quite a bit. This is what you can give to your plants. My first video, if you saw the first video, I called this worm tea, and I had someone correct me. Thank you, I'm not ever thinking I'm a know-it-all. And they called it a leach something, and I don't know how to say that, so I apologize. But I also looked up worm tea, and worm tea is basically taking your worm poop, mixing it with water, and it creates worm tea. Well, this is the water runoff from the poop, so I'm gonna keep calling it worm tea because I can't say the other word. I'm going to separate this out into this big tub, and then I can add it with more water. And for those of you who are wondering, this does not smell like poop. I'm smelling actually nothing. All right, now you can see how much worm castings I got. I'm gonna put this plate back where it should be. Now this level can go back. And I'm going to kind of scoop through here and check on the worms. And there are many. And I want to loosen them up. This honestly feels like it is pretty much all worm castings. Okay, so now that this tray is all stirred up and my worms have run from the sun, I'm going to try and mix this with this one so they do have some food down here. I'm going to add a new tray to the top and a new tray to the bottom. I'm trying to work the worms up to the top tray, and the bottom tray can get a lot of the worm poop kind of going through, as well as the base, because there are so many worms in here. We're producing a lot. I'm no worm composting scientist, just so you know. This is backyard, inside the house, fun worm composting. I'm going to give them the leaves, kind of a base in between. So I use them almost like a newspaper. There are leftover of rock wool, which is what I use for my microgreens, if you've seen my other videos. So I kind of give that to them too. And coffee filters, they love those. And you're gonna get dirty with these projects. That's why I like to do this outside. Here's an old grocery shopping bag. It's about what's left of that. And oh my goodness, there's so many worms. I mean, we're just loaded. And I do have some little pebble rocks in here as well. Oops, I'm flinging them in the grass. You know, if they run away, they're gonna have a really good life out here in the backyard. And I do have a whole bunch down here that are running into the grass, so free you worms. This is the tray that I want to move them out of, but I want them to eat the rest of what's in here, so then I have one big full tray of this beautiful black poop, worm poop. It's kind of like being a little kid and playing with the worms and the poop. So now we're gonna swap these out again. And I'm just gonna move it off to the side. The one that they were just in, I'm gonna put down so we have a little bit of a barrier. I'm also going to layer a little bit of newspaper. Now the big heavy one that is full of them, and now the nice new one. To get them to come up here, this is where I'm going to add my pretty much pre-decomposed food by putting it in the blender and then putting it in the refrigerator. Then I'm gonna spread these toilet paper rolls out, and they're all full of food. Is this how the professional worm composters do it? Maybe not, but I've done this quite a few times and it seems to work pretty well. I have a couple other toilet paper rolls that I just started to soak this morning. So I'm gonna get the rest of those lined up what I needed. And this looks like a lot of food, but I have way more worms than I probably need at this point. And I'm gonna do another layer of newspaper, and this helps keep down the smell. And yes, it can get smelly in your house if you do not keep up on it, or if you're overfeeding your worms. If you overfeed them and the food sits for too long, it will stink. Now all the worms are nice and snug and back in. I'm not gonna use these anymore. And the rest of this food with the toilet paper rolls is going to go in the Ziploc, and as gross as it sounds, it goes in my refrigerator, and that's why it says worm food on it. But if you use a good freezer Ziploc baggie and you're going through the food quite quickly, it won't smell in your fridge. Not any worse than the food just sitting rotting in a bowl waiting to go in the food processor. I hope you liked this update on the worm composting. It is going very well. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. I also will have a link to the Uncle Jim's Worm Factory, and it is an affiliate link. But as always, it just helps out my YouTube channel so I can continue to bring you awesome content if you think it's awesome. And we'll see you on the next episode of Grow with Angie.